The Philippines should be one of the easiest countries in Southeast Asia to succeed in tourism. World-class beaches, English-speaking locals, warm culture, and yet, it's still not working. The Philippines was the only country in the region in Southeast Asia that actually had the worst performance in returning tourists after the pandemic. So a lot of travelers, they decided to come back to Southeast Asia. Thailand, for example, Thailand by now they had 32 million visitors or something coming to the country so far in 2025. The Vietnam had like a huge spike, like more than 20 million. The Vietnamese government, they actually had, they were planning like 15 million in a year, and they have 20 million by June or July or so. Malaysia, they recover 100% of the goal of tourists incoming to the country. The Philippines is actually now behind countries like Cambodia. So why is the Philippines like that? Why does nobody want to go back to the Philippines anymore, including me? Let's get the show on the road. The first thing you notice is how everything in the Philippines take a lot of effort. The country has very little public transportation. They rely mostly on jeepneys, or you have to have your own car, or you have to have your own motorbike. Grab is very limited. For example, you can go from Vietnam from north to south and use Grab. Thailand is the same, it's like national, like nationwide. You can use Grab, but the Philippines, no, it's just very limited. And then you are stuck, you are hostage of local taxis. And they're gonna scam the hell out of you. We wanted to go from the airport, Ninoy Aquino, if I'm not mistaken the name, to our hotel in Makati. And the guy was charging us 100 freaking dollars. And I said, no, this is ridiculous, because I used the simulator of Grab while I was in Bangkok. And it would cost us maybe $5 or $4 maximum. And then he wanted to rip us off for what, $100. Also, and we decided to come back to our hotel one day from Intramuros to Makati. It was the worst traffic jam I ever felt in my life. Maybe, I don't know if in my life in general, because I cannot remember really such terrible traffic jam. But a trip that should be like 30 minutes from Intramuros to Makati took us like 1 hour and a half. It was just crazy. I mean, it was insane. And also it was not cheap. It was very expensive, the taxi. And it was Grab. So speaking about traffic jams and infrastructure, my God, the infrastructure of the country is just horrible. I know that being an archipelago is very difficult and makes everything complicated because, it's like several islands. You cannot have bridges or highways so easily. Still, airports are very limited. The capacity and the infrastructure of airports is really bad. Also, there are many power cuts in the country and even water shortages. We felt water shortages a lot in Palawan when we went there. All the hotels we stayed, there was no water. So basically we had in the end to buy 5-liter gallons to shower ourselves with cups. Because thank goodness I bring a cup. I always should drink in the airport, water or something like free water. And then we had to shower like in the 1900s. We have to get the water, 5-liter bottle, and then we just shower. Of course, you don't want to spend $40 to $50 in a hotel to have no water in the tap, and you cannot even have a shower after a long day of trip. So this is like not something that you desire when you are on the holidays, right? We went, for example, in Palawan, we went from Puerto Princesa, a trip that should be like 3 hours. It took us 6 hours. So imagine, there is no water in the hotel, there is no Wi-Fi in the hotel as well. I paid $40, $50, and I just wanted to have a good time and relax, and not even that I could have the luxury of. Speaking about hotel prices, as like I said, I paid $40 or $50 in average for every hotel, decent hotel in the Philippines. The cost of living is very expensive. I was quite shocked. I arrived in Thailand in 2023 and I've been here in Southeast Asia so far, traveling around, like a nomad basically. And I've been everywhere, as I said. And I was thinking, okay, maybe the Philippines is like similar, or maybe if it's expensive, it could be like maybe, I don't know, like Thailand expensive, like Bangkok or something. But no, it was much more expensive. It's much more expensive. Everything is much more expensive. Groceries is much more expensive. Taxes are much more expensive. Transportation, the little transportation they have is expensive. Hotels, everything, food, restaurants, everything is more expensive than anywhere in Southeast Asia that I've been, except Singapore. So, but of course, Singapore, they have Singaporean dollars, so they can afford their cost of living. I don't know how locals they live over there in the Philippines. I was expecting to not budget traveling, but at least not spend that much money. We spent $1,100 in 12 days in the Philippines doing nothing. We didn't go to any tour, me and my wife, we didn't go to any tour. We just basically had a lot of troubles actually in the Philippines. It was like a nightmare travel about the transportation, about the infrastructure, about Wi-Fi, about everything. It was like a sequence. It felt like a death by 1,000 cuts, like a lot of sequences of setbacks, of frustrations, of bad events that made us move out of the Philippines. We planned to stay 30 to 50 days, and then we just, okay, we can't take this anymore. Then we left in the 12th back to Singapore and then to Malaysia. And when we compare to the other countries around, I mean, why should I go to a country that is expensive, offering the same or even inferior experience if I can go to the neighboring countries? For example, let's say I can just go straight to Kuala Lumpur and then I go to, I don't know, Melaka or Langkawi or even Perhentian Islands, even if you have to sleep overnight, but it's still cheaper than going from Manila to Davao. And I'm talking only about the flights, not talking about food or talking about accommodation, right? So I think the answer is very obvious. Another reason why tourists may not be coming back to the Philippines anymore is about the safety. Me personally, I didn't feel the Philippines very dangerous, except Manila, some areas. I'm from Latin America, so I have a different view on danger that maybe you see it in a different way. For example, for me, danger can be very, very dangerous with a lot of guns, kidnapping, and like literally war scenarios. But the Philippines was actually okay. I don't feel like this danger. I mean, I could walk with jewelry outside. I could, open my wallet in public, even in the evening. I didn't feel any threat or this, oppression around me. There are many cases, of course, that of police corruption, of crooked cops, and scams, and even human trafficking. Like Cambodia is very famous for human trafficking, but the Philippines has a lot of horror stories related to human and organs trafficking. I always thought that the Americans would be the most part of the tourists visiting the Philippines, but it's not. It was actually the Chinese and the Koreans. And none of them are coming back to the Philippines anymore for different reasons. The Koreans are not coming back to the Philippines because of their own problems in their own country, in Korea, South Korea. They are going through like a lot of economic problems and kind of like political crisis as well. And the Chinese and the Philippines, now they have this beef. Like Philippines and China, they have a lot of tensions along the South China Sea. Or West Philippine Sea, as the Filipinos they call. They say like China is invading some of the islands that the Philippines claim it's their territory, and they have these fishing boats from China in Filipino waters and etc. So, and they have also like every politician that takes power in the Philippines, one of them is more aligned to China, the other is more aligned to the United States. So have this polarization in the country as well. So it's a mess. The Chinese are choosing other destinations as well. There's like a considered drop in Chinese tourists in Thailand as well. They were the main backbone of tourism, but now they're going back to Malaysia or to Vietnam or Cambodia or even other places, or even in China, like their own country, they're preferring to visit there. So yeah, I mean, that's another big impact why the tourism in the Philippines is declining fast. It's the worst performance among all their neighbors except for Brunei. So me personally, I don't want to come back to the Philippines because of this, like maybe all these problems, especially because I don't know. After you visit Thailand or you visit Vietnam, you visit Malaysia, or even Indonesia, I've been, or even Cambodia for that matter. I feel it's much better when you have to do some online work because I work remotely. I'm not retired. I didn't retire yet. I have to work online, and everything is much cheaper. You can get by very easy. You can go everywhere. You can even cross borders by bus. You can go from Singapore to Malaysia by bus and vice versa. You can go to Laos and Vietnam by bus. You can have a very cheap flight from Thailand to Vietnam, maybe, I don't know, $30, $40. And everything is so much convenient and much easy. And I don't know, why should I go to the Philippines, To pay everything is very expensive. Like, there's a lot of missing items. And accommodations are really bad or basic compared to why should I pay for the $50 in the Philippines if I can $50 I pay like a 5-star luxury hotel in Vietnam or in Thailand. So I don't know why. It's kind of a no-brainer. Why would I choose any other country in the region instead of the Philippines? And this is something that I learned, that most of the tourists in the Philippines, they are like holiday makers, and they spend an average of $2,000 in 12 or 15 days. With $2,000, you can live basically very, very comfortably, like a king, basically. You just rent an Airbnb or a cheaper accommodation in, I don't know, like a small town in the coast or in the mountains, anywhere in the other countries of Asian countries. For example, I spent I spent $500 in Vietnam. This is the average amount of money I spent there, like living good, not like a billionaire, but like living really good. And in Thailand, with 1,000, you can live also in the same standard. So, but in the Philippines, I feel like because we spent in 12 days, we just get like this very problematic. We didn't do anything special there. We didn't go into any tours because everything was so expensive, like $100 a person for a basic tour, like 4 hours, 5 hours diving or something. And then the hotels and the food, like food portions are very small. So overall, I don't see myself coming back to the Philippines, really. I didn't see anything that special, to be honest. Of course, I went just only to Manila and Palawan. I didn't go to Cebu or Davao or any other place, but to what I see in the Philippines, I don't see anything extra that I cannot see in Malaysia, that I cannot see in Thailand, or I cannot see in Indonesia. And these countries are way more affordable, way more easy to get by, and it's overall it just feels safer, and they are like developing. Because in the Philippines, it feels like I was back in the 70s or the 80s, and it was like a really really strange vibe and mood. So I don't see myself, but maybe it's different. Maybe you want to go there, maybe you are not convinced to what I say, and then you want to go back, go there, check it out, and you are free to do that. I'm just saying this because of many reports I'm reading about the crisis of the Philippines and my personal experience. I really didn't like it. It was not like a dangerous or traumatic experience, but it was really meh. It was really, I don't know, really not really nice. So tell me, have you been to the Philippines? Would you like to go there? I want to hear from you in the comments. Thanks for watching the video, and see you in the next one. Happy trails!